A CBS News investigation is shedding light on dark money in political campaigns and the role they're already playing in this year's election. Those are donations that are made where the source and the donor are undisclosed. CBS News investigative reporter Daniel Kleidman has been following the story, and he is here with us now in Studio 57 to explain what he found. Always great to have you, Daniel. You write about a single anonymous donation of $64 million that helped Joe Biden get elected in 2020. What do we know about the source of that funding and how it was made its way into the primary Biden super PAC?
Well, we know almost nothing about the source of that funding, which is why this is an important story. Look, in July of 2020, a 501c4 tax-exempt organization that no one had ever heard of just kind of popped up out of the blue and received a donation for $64 million from a single anonymous source. That is a staggering amount of money. Most people believe it came from one very wealthy pro-Biden individual, but it could have come from another entity, from a privately held corporation or from an LLC, but we just don't know. That money then moved from the Impetus Fund, which was this 501c4, to the nonprofit arm of the main Biden super PAC called Future Forward USA Action. Now, 501c4s, these tax-exempt organizations, they don't have to say who their donors are. But a few weeks later, in October, just before the election, $60 million was moved from Future Forward USA Action to Future Forward, which is the Biden super PAC. Super PACs do have to disclose who their donors are. But the donor in this case was their nonprofit arm.
Right, which we don't know.
Right. No one knows what Future Forward USA Action is or who's behind that. And so, you know, good government groups and people who are concerned about the lack of transparency in the system are really concerned about this trend, which has been going on for quite a while now, because voters can't assess what are the interests and the agendas that lie behind all of that money. An individual who gives $64 million to a political cause likely wants something in return for that, but we don't know what that would be.
And so this is, focused on the Biden campaign, this particular example, but Republicans are doing it as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. In fact, just last week, one of these dark money 501c4s popped up in Pennsylvania and is spending $2 million on ads attacking Biden on behalf of Trump about how he's ignored the inflation issue. So it is happening on both sides. Ironically, the Democrats have actually excelled in the raising of dark money over the last few cycles and have surpassed the Republicans. I say ironically because philosophically, the Democrats and Joe Biden himself are opposed to dark money. Joe Biden in 2022 went out into the White House briefing room and said dark money erodes trust. But they're continuing to do it. And the reason is they believe that they shouldn't have to unilaterally disarm, as they would put it, that the stakes are so high in this election, or as one Democratic strategist put it to me, you don't show up at a gunfight with a knife.
I read a fascinating book by Jane Meyer called Dark Money. And can you just explain to people how this all started? It wasn't always like this.
It was not always like this. Look, we are actually at the 50th anniversary of the first really big campaign reform in the modern era. It happened in the wake of Watergate. Back then, there was unlimited amounts of money coming in to campaigns. People were still bringing money in suitcases and brown paper bags. Those reforms happened. And then over the years, there were more reforms, but then they were sort of chipped away at. And the big moment was Citizens United in 2010, when the Supreme Court said, you can give unlimited amounts, you being companies, unions, individuals, can give unlimited amounts of money to independent political committees, PACs, for example. The bargain they thought they were striking was, but in exchange, those donations have to be disclosed. What they did not anticipate as they ushered in the age of the super PAC was these 501c4s could be used as devices for concealing money, and that money eventually would find its way into these super PACs and get used to support candidates.
So why not just go So why not just go back and amend that amendment?
Yeah. Well, if you think, Vlad, that we could get both parties together and agree on this, I've got some swampland in Florida.
Why am I even asking that question? Why am I even asking that? I mean, yes.
So this might be sort of a simple question, but so these tax-exempt entities, these 501c4s, I mean, in order to create one of those, I would think that there would be a paper trail, that you have to sort of fill something out and make a request and justify why you should be tax exempt.
There is, and there are tax forms. There are 990s. There's articles of incorporation. There are those kinds of documents that can tell you when the organization was formed, and in some of these cases, who donated to the 501c4s, but the money that goes out, nothing about.
Wow, this is it's a fascinating story,
yeah.
And we could go on and on about its widespread impact and the way it's changed elections and politics in this country. Dan, it's always great seeing you.
Not for the better.
No, yeah, totally.
We're not editorializing.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Daniel, always great to have you.
All right, Daniel will join America Decides at 5 p.m. Eastern for an extended conversation on his investigation into dark money. So you're going to want to tune in a little later on in the day.